The Argentines survived the scare on two consecutive occasions in this World Cup. The round of 32 against Cape Verde, and of course the round of 16 against Egypt, all against African countries. They needed to win by 3 goals to 2 to secure their spot in the quarterfinals of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And I mean, the Argentines will probably think of how to deal with the next opponent, that is Switzerland, in the quarterfinals. This is going to be their third meeting in the history of the World Cup. They've met twice in 1966, of which the Argentines won 2-0, and of course, the last time out in Brazil 2014, which was around some 12 years ago, when Fabian Angel Di Maria scored the only goal of that game as the Argentines booked their spot and marched on into the finals before they lost out against the Diamond Shaft of Germany. So Lionel Messi and his charges set up a tough encounter against Switzerland. The Swiss team are really preparing for Argentina. They've prepared for all the scenarios, including how to deal with the threat of the Argentines, going to extra time, going to penalties. And you've seen that Argentina is quite good when it comes to post-match penalties in recent World Cup years that we've seen. Out of 11 knockout games, 7 of them have been won through post-match penalties by the Argentines. So it tells you that they are really strong. And of course, they are laboring. They are struggling. In the last 2 games, the Argentines, you can clearly see that they are struggling. They need to, at the point, they even need to come from behind. So this is where Coach Lionel Scaloni and his charges are going to ponder about how to deal with the Switzerland. Maybe you might say the Swiss team is not quite strong, but they've got some couple of brilliant players who have been doing massively well in this competition. Brilliant Bolo, we know him from his days at Schalke 04, at Monaco, and now at Stade Rennais. He's been one of the established strikers for the Switzerland team. Vargas has been one of the brilliant wingers, and of course Dan Ndoye, who plies his trade with Nottingham Forest. I mean, they have Granit Xhaka, former Arsenal captain, went to Bayer Leverkusen, now in the Premier League with Sunderland. We're hearing a move for him to Chelsea as he's set to reunite with his former coach Xabi Alonso. Granit Xhaka has been also doing wonderfully well for the Switzerland team. The likes of Remo Freuler deep in midfield. At the backline, Denis Zakaria, midfielder, has been converted into right back. Ricardo Rodriguez, formerly of AC Milan, now with Real Betis, has been one of the torn figures. Nico Elvedi, and of course Manuel Akanji, formerly of Manchester City, who is now with Inter Milan. So the Swiss team is not that bad. Murat Yakin has done a massive job, even though they started disappointingly in this 2026 World Cup. A draw against Qatar, but they marched on from the games against Canada, and of course in the game against Bosnia-Herzegovina, went through to the round of 16, where they made it in the quarterfinals before they defeated the Colombian team in the round of 16 to secure their spot in the quarterfinals, where they set up a clash with Argentina. I think they will always have to think about Lionel Messi, because he seems to be carrying the Argentine team through. I think Lionel Messi is the only special one within the Argentine team. He makes them special. If you take a look at even what happened in the game against Egypt, they were sweating at a point until Lionel Messi started to go to the wings to help with the delivery of the long balls, because the Argentine team lacked wing play. Fabian Angel Di Maria was the one who was giving them the width in the last World Cup, but in his absence after his retirement, the Argentine team is really sweating. And that was how Lionel Messi went on to the right to take up the long ball for Christian Romero to pull that consolation, before Lionel Messi came with the half volley 4 minutes later in the game against Egypt for the game to turn to 2-2, before Enzo Fernandez had that match winner after Lautaro Martinez took that pull out. So the Argentine team seems to be struggling, but because they have Lionel Messi, they have creativity, and that is what has been carrying the team through. I have not seen much of Julian Alvarez in this World Cup. Unlike how I saw him in the last World Cup in 2022 in Qatar, I have not seen much of him. Lautaro Martinez, even though he scored in one of the games, but not too much have been seen from Lautaro Martinez. The Argentine team used to have a rigid midfield. That is what keeps them along. And they go in for all those 50-50 balls, the tackles. I mean, the likes of Leandro Paredes, Enzo Fernandez, Rodrigo De Paul, Alexis McAllister. This keeps them going. And of course, Christian Romero And then Lisandro Martinez have built that telepathy and the chemistry between themselves in terms of how their partnership have been gelling. Nahuel Molina from the last World Cup in Qatar, he's still around. Nicolas Tagliafico from the last World Cup in Qatar, he was even there in Russia 2018. So his left back has been quite well for the Argentine team. It's a difficult game for the Swiss team. I think I will go for a win for the Argentine setup. I think they have what it takes to beat the Switzerland team. I don't think the game might probably travel to extra time unless the Swedes decide to play above themselves to make sure that they match up the Argentines, especially dealing with the threats that the likes of Lionel Messi, Julian Alvarez, and of course Lautaro Martinez, alongside the midfield play of Enzo Fernandez, might bring along. But it's a game that I see the Argentines winning to secure their spot into the semi-final. And of course, that will be a tremendous achievement on the part of Lionel Scaloni, which means in the 2 World Cup tournaments, he's taken the Argentines, all of them, he's reached the last 4. I see the Argentines winning against Switzerland in the quarterfinals of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. This has been the podcast channel. Thank you.